Hello and welcome to DoItYourselfMusician. Today we have a Yamaha R1000 Reverb. This is a very early, I believe 1983, 84 is when it dropped. Very early digital reverb, 12-bit, 19-inch rack mount unit. This one I believe is sort of a prosumer model. I think it was aimed at maybe working with the keyboards like the CP70 or something like that. It does have an input impedance of 50 kilo ohms, so you could drive it with a guitar. 1 mega ohm would be better, but 50k is okay. It operates at +4 or -20. There's going to be a switch on the back. We'll take a look at that in a second. You basically have 4 sort of preset reverbs by this 4-way toggle here, and that's one of the kind of the drawbacks to this unit. Actually, is those things are set at 1.5, 1.6, then 2.3 and 2.4. So it's a little weird. You don't have a lot of choice there. That's a big drawback to this unit. And also, they can be pretty noisy. I don't know if there's a way to quieten it down. We'll try to make this one as quiet as we can. They're still interesting though. These old 12-bit things, you know, the gritty sound is a thing. This one definitely has that. This one, let's see, check this out here. All these knobs seem pretty good. I mean, this one is like not in the best shape here. I mean, there's some scuffs all over, scratches. Power button seems to switch. There's a surround or an escutcheon for this that's missing. Yeah, I don't know, it seems like it's in okay shape. Let's take a look at the back. All right, taking a look at the back here, you can see we have an output. We have a level switch here, -20, +4, and an input. Obviously, this is mono. This unit also, it does not have any advanced features to it, like there's no pre-delay or anything like that. But you do have this insert loop. We've got an out and an in here, and you could throw a delay into this loop and give yourself a bit of a pre-delay function that way. That's what that's for. And on the right side here, you can see it's a Yamaha R1000 120 volt model, 60 hertz, made in Japan. And here's the AC input line. Looks not the best there, but it's pretty worn out. We'll take a look at that in a second. Okay, this guy came to me as being able to power on, but won't pass a signal. So let's go ahead and attempt to power up and see what happens. All right, we're hooked up to a current limited 120 volt supply, and I'm going to go ahead and turn her on. There's some LEDs on here, so we're looking for something to light up. So let's see what happens. And there you go. And I heard a relay click too. It spiked up there a little bit when it came on, but it's looking like it's drawing about 18 watts of power. I've got 1 showing here. Go for 2, 3. Any bets 4 is going to work? Yes, 4 does work. All right. That is your equalizer in and out right there. And this is your bypass. Maybe that was the relay we heard. Okay. All right. That's looking pretty good so far, so let's go ahead and put a signal in there and see if we can get something to function. Okay, I'm inputting a 1 kilohertz sine wave at 0.775 volts RMS, so that should give us 0 dB. And you can see the signal on the scope, so we're basically in hardware bypass right now because the unit is turned off. So we do have a signal going from in to out with the unit off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And let's just see what happens to that signal. All right, when the relay clicked in, our signal disappeared. So that was basically our bypass. That's a bypass relay. Let me turn on the bypass, and our signal is back. Okay, so let me take the bypass off again. No signal. All right. Yeah, we're getting nothing out of this, and we also don't show an input level. Oh, there's something there. Okay. What do we got here? See what our switch on the back is set to here. There we go. Maybe that was a little bit of what was going on there. That actually looks reasonable. So we do have input meter working. And it looks like our that would be +4 here, -20. So I can get it to peak on either. Not all the way, but yeah. Okay. So that's good. I mean, there's signs of life here. There is, however, no signal coming through this thing. It's not getting through. Was that what it was? Hang on now. Okay. I forgot this has an out level on it. Okay, I do have a signal coming out of this. Okay, so you can see there's our output signal. We are not in bypass. I'm controlling that with the output pot right there. But take a look at something here. When I switch my +4 -20 switch, look at that. Appears dirty, but that looks suspiciously like reverb to me. I don't know what it is without hearing it. It could just be bouncing in the switch. But it just seems for a second there like maybe it's trying to do something. I don't know. I think we need to pop the top off. Yeah, look at that too. That's what happens when I switch the front. It's hard to know without hearing it. I don't have any speakers hooked up right now. Alright, I decided to actually record this signal and have a listen to it. And sure enough, listen what happens when I flip the level switch back here. Listen to that. That sounds like you hear a little bit of reverb. It sounds like one of those submarine pings from a submarine movie. That's like the sonar. Dive, dive, dive! But yeah, there's a little... When we switch that, we get a little bit of reverb coming through. I don't hear anything on these, but I could see it on the scope. Interesting behavior. I think it's time we probably just took... Oh God, let me cancel that noise. I think it's time we probably took the lid off this and took a little look around inside. Now I'm always suspicious about the one screw in the middle. Does it hold the top on or hold something to the top? Feels like it holds the top on. See what we got here. Wow. ICs galore. Okay, so here we can see our power supply stuff. We got 3 fuses down here. And what do we got here? Some regulators. Looks like we have a 7812, 7815, 7915. So we have plus and minus 15. Actually, there's 4 fuses. There's another one there. Then, of course, your requisite capacitors, bridge rectifier. Nothing really jumps out at me. We'll test all this stuff here in a minute. I was going to say nothing really jumps out at me as being an obviously bad part yet. But I also wanted to show here, this is some type of Yamaha chip here. I'm not sure what this would be. This could be some common processor that they relabeled. I'm not sure. However, I did spot these. HD 14559BP, HD 14549BP. These are successive approximation registers, and that's how the analog to digital conversion's working in this. A lot of units from this time used successive approximation. It's hard to say. They use that technique for analog to digital conversion. The higher end units would probably use PCM, or what's the other one? The Delta Sigma conversion. The lower end units typically use successive approximation. Now I did just notice these two switches here that say normal mode and test mode, but I'm not really sure what to do with those without a schematic or a service manual. And also we have a relay back here. That's what I'm hearing clicking. This is a bypass relay that we'll need to check. And then also, strangely, there's this can. What could be under this can? I'm thinking, is this the output section? Is there a DAC under here? Because I don't see a DAC anywhere else on this board. So I think what I want to do is flip this over and get the back off of it and try to get this can off to see what we got under there. Anticlimactic. Maybe. Yep. A little loud, but that was okay. Yeah, so definitely solder side here. I'm going to guess that these two screws will allow me to pull that can off on the other side. All right, let's see if we can get this off. Yeah, a Burr Brown DAC. Look at that. There you go. PCM 53 for the DAC. Yeah, this is our shielded output. All right, let's check some voltages. And as always, be extremely careful when you're working inside live equipment. First of all, we have a 7812. I got 12 volts. Then I have a 7815. 15 volts and 79. 15. Minus 15 volts. So that all looks good. Now, additionally, for checking voltages, you can check other ICs on this board just to make a little random check to make sure that the voltages are actually getting where you need them to go. I'm going to target that Burr Brown DAC and see if it's getting the voltage that it needs. That'll eliminate that right away as that being a problem, so let's just go ahead and check it. All right, on this Burr Brown DAC here, the input voltage is going to be right here. Pin 23, yep, plus 15 volts. And minus 15 should be on pin 19. Yeah, minus 15. So it's definitely getting its voltages. Okay, so I think I'm just kind of want to look at what the output of the DAC is right away. I mean, that'll answer a lot of questions for us. Should be on pin 21 here. So 24, 23, 22, 21. And yeah, we have an output, and it looks proportional to our sine wave too. That looks pretty good. And this this DAC is an I DAC as opposed to the V. This is a current DAC, not a voltage DAC. That's why it's marked I. There should be an op amp around here that has the signal on it. Let me take a look real fast and see what I can find. I'm not sure what this chip is. I have to look what that guy is there. Let me just see. Here, let me take a look here. Oh yeah. Okay. Then the signal goes straight across to that. So, what are these outputs? What are they? Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. That's an interesting signal there too. What about here? And here. Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks like it's going through that, but let me figure out, do a little research here and figure something out. Okay, we'll take a look at this data sheet here for this DAC. This is what we have. This is the I, the PCM53I. This is the current output DAC. And they're recommending that there be an op amp out here, which I believe converts the current into a voltage, if I'm not mistaken. So we should be able to find a signal on an external op amp in here. And if you look at this is the V model. It actually has an op amp inside of the package. So I guess what this does basically is it just makes it cheaper for them. All right, I did a little looking around here, and sure enough, this op amp right here, if we look on this pin here, that is our signal right there. And I think that was the input, and I think this here is the output signal. And this op amp here is going to the mix knob up here. So I'm gonna take a look at what the input to the mix knob is and see what we got there. Okay, what we're looking at here is the mix knob right here, and basically you have the input to it on this node right here. There's a couple of resistors right here, and that's basically the input to the mix knob. So this is the reverberated signal. I have the knob right in the middle, so you can see there that there is a signal present there, and it goes to ground. And then this is the dry, so you can see that on the scope too, and that one will go to ground, right? Because all the way over here it's reverb only signal, so your dry is grounded. And then coming over here, you have the opposite happening. You go all the way to your direct signal, and your reverb is grounded, because this works kind of more like a pan pot. It's not a dual gang pot, it's a single gang pot. So the center pin of the pot's going to ground, so it's grounding out either signal. It's kind of more like a pan pot than it is a balance pot or anything. So we have signal on both sides of this pan pot, which means that in fact the DAC is working, the unit is basically working. It is passing signal. So my question is this: if we look at the input here, and I have this thing totally direct, so there's no reverb, and then I'm actually going to switch my signal generator into a square wave, which you can see there. Now watch the yellow trace and we'll see what happens here. Or actually watch both traces. Look at that waveform. What do you think that is? What do you think is causing it to look like that? Yeah, I'm going to say that this thing is actually working. So you got me on that one. It seems to be passing a reverb signal. Maybe I couldn't hear it. Maybe the sine wave wasn't exciting it enough, and I probably should have used the square wave. I definitely couldn't see it on the oscilloscope until I did just that. So actually, seems like this thing's working. So I think just to prove that to myself, let's go ahead and plug a guitar in and see if we can make it make noise. All right, got a guitar hooked up here. And we're units off right now. I'm going to turn the mix all the way down first and pull out a bypass. Got level, so let's turn the mix up a little bit and see what happens. Yep, we got plenty of reverb. Mix seems to work too. Looks like a 2 second. That's the longest one. it's working. It's definitely working. There's your long. Boy, I gotta remember how to play guitar. It's real kind of drippy. What about the EQ? Ooh, pretty noisy pots. Yeah, it sounds like they're working. Didn't know this LED is off now. Wonder if I did something to that. Yeah, it sounds like the EQ is working too. If we just go to like an extreme here. Maybe boost everything. Ooh, some nasty sounds there. Actually, you know what? Let's center these up. Neutralize those. Woo! Turn that one full up. That fuller sound, and then it's all because basically I just mid boosted it. Here, let's go. Do that and crank this down a little. I don't know what else to say. I guess somebody that sold this thought it was broke, or they didn't know how to operate it or something, but it's working. Some dirty pots and stuff, so I guess I'm just going to service it and check a few of these capacitors, though they all look pretty good by eye, but I'm just going to take a look around. It's probably going to be a bit too much to recap. There are a lot of capacitors in there, and that's going to be kind of expensive. So, but yeah, I'm just going to do a little service on it, I guess, and call it a day. Okay. Let's see. Connections look good on this end. It's kind of cheap wire there. Let me flip it over. Maybe it's a connection on the other end. Well, it looks like this LED might be dead. I am getting voltage here, but it's not coming on. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. Okay, let's check this guy out and see if it'll light up. Nope. It's not lighting up. It's dead. Wonder how I popped that one. Well, I'm pretty certain I don't have one of those. That's the kind that has the little round part that goes through the panel. I'll have to try to dig one of those up. Okay, I found a couple of LEDs at DigiKey that are roughly the same thing. I'll put the part numbers on the screen and in the description. And I'm going to power it with 10 volts because the unit is roughly providing 10 volts to the LEDs. And I believe they're 2K limiting resistors if I remember right. So I'm going to go ahead and power these on and show you what they look like. And of course they're going to be a little bit brighter on the camera than they are in real life. They look a little blown out actually. But you can see they're the, I don't know, I think they call these towers or something. They're 2mm tower LEDs. Yeah, they're very similar. So let's compare these to the one that's on the unit. Okay, I brought the R1000 over a little bit closer so we can compare what these look like. So if I go ahead and turn that on, you can see that it's similar. It's very similar in brightness. It is a little different. I think these two match well to my eye here. So I think what I'm going to do is going to replace both the LEDs in the R1000. I'm going to keep the bypass red, but I'm going to turn the one here for the EQ green, because when you enable the EQ, it's on, so it's green, right? That seems more sensible to me than them both being red. And also, it's now going to be kind of custom. Okay, if you take a look at these two LEDs here, you'll see that on the new one, this round part is a little bit longer than it is on the original. This is about 2mm in diameter also, whereas this one's about 1.8, so it's a little skinnier, but it'll still fit perfectly. Now I've got two options here. I could maybe cut this a little shorter to match this one, or I could just drop this further down into that little PCB to match the length, and I think that's what I'll do. Well, I'll round up soldering those mostly off camera there, because it turns out I actually had these soldered into the wrong side of the board, but now I got it right. So let's turn it on and see what they look like. That's good. Relay kicked off, so I'll kick the bypass back on. There you go. And if you turn your EQ on, yep, got a green one too. That's good. All right, now let me see if I can get them mounted into the chassis again. Trick is going to be trying to get these back in there. Well, I can tell this is going to be those fiddly thing that's going to take forever, so I'm going to do it off camera. Okay, finally got them back in there. Let's see what they look like. Here's your bypass, and it clicks off. Then you can go back into bypass. Whoop. And then here's your green for your EQ. Lift it up a little bit there. And of course they're a little washed out on the video, but they're pretty equal in brightness. The red one's a little brighter, but it's very similar to what it was. Okay, of course these are dual gang concentric pots. The pot on the outside here is the center, and it is detented. There's a detent down in there. It's nice and open, easy to get to. And these outer ones are closer in to the inside. I'm going to have to figure out how to get in there. Start by getting a little, I'm going to use a deoxit fader F5. Try to get that guy down in there. Crap just goes everywhere, man. And then just do the deoxit disco. We're all familiar with that by now. Don't like where that cap is touching there. Alright, the ones at the front, there's a little hole right there. Right there. And again, deoxit disco. And I like to blow all that excess deoxit out of there with some compressed air. Just try to clean it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to turn on my 1 kilohertz tone again. And we'll check these pots. All right, let's kick the EQ on. So yeah, I'm not hearing that horrible noise anymore. And those are quiet. They're not. Those aren't really making any noise. All right, that sounds good to me. All right, good deal. All right, I'm going to go through here with my ESR meter and just try to check a couple of these. It looks like I can get to a lot of them top side here. That's fine. It's 22 at 25. 22 at 25. That one, what is that? It's 4.7 at 25. That's another, hang on, get on there good. That's another 22 at 25. All right, let's check some of these caps in the power supply section. These are the big bulk caps. 0.04, 0.02, I think there's another one here. 0.02, 0.02. All right, I'll check the other ones off camera. I think they're fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with these capacitors. They're all Nippon Chemicon caps, and they seem to be fine. And also, of course, just a note about capacitors like these, because I get asked the question a lot about these. I know, capacitors are a common point of failure in electronics. They really are. So I won't dispel that at all, because it's true. However, it's not always capacitors. Sometimes, as you can see in here, this unit was made in 1984. I don't believe these are changed. It all looks factory to me. They're good quality caps. They're reading fine. They look fine. There's no weirdness. They didn't use any glue or any weird stuff to cause any conductivity in here. So these caps are fine to stay. However, if you are going to use this unit in a professional studio environment and put it up in a rack where it's going to get heated up a lot, then remember, this is made in 84. Put the money into it and go ahead and change all this stuff just in case. It doesn't need to be changed to operate. It'll operate fine and it'll have a good long life, just like it is. However, a professional environment, if you're an honest to goodness professional studio and you don't want this to break down, I would recommend putting the money into changing the caps. There's a lot of caps in here though, so it's going to cost a little bit. I'm not going to change them because they're fine right now. And that's that. So that's my two cents on that whole issue. Give it a little clean with the foaming cleaner here. Worst brush in the world. Well, I think that's going to do it for the Yamaha R1000 reverb service here. Too bad it wasn't a more in-depth repair than it was. It turns out that it was already working. We did change a couple of the LEDs here in the front panel to make it a little bit custom. I still need to get to this little surround here on this power button. I don't have a 3D printer. I'll have to get somebody to print that for me. It's going to take another couple of weeks, and I want to get this video out, get this done. It's already long enough for just a service video. All right. If you like the content that I'm producing on this channel, please like and subscribe and click that bell, and I'll see you on the next one.